What's up, guys? It's Dynasty Mountaintops back again. We are, in the solid part of the offseason right now. And you'll see that with the news that we have. Not much there. So before we get too far ahead, though, I want to introduce Jeremy, my co-host. How you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic, my man. Weather is nice. It's not too hot, which is what I hate the most. So I'll take summer days in the low to mid 70s all summer, hopefully. How are you?
72 is like beautiful.
Yeah, man.
Right where I like to be, 72, 75. That's perfect. That's what we had today, which was great. I know it's like usually 90 right now, so I was very happy with how our weather's been going here in the Berg. But yeah, I'll be good. But getting ready for the season already, which I can't believe. We finally we finished up our rookie draft. We're having a mock draft for the pod here that we'll talk about at the end, and it's pretty exciting, man. I'm getting football fever already, and we're like over 80 days away, which is sickening. So
no, this is one of the biggest perks of dynasty football, man. Like I terribly miss the actual football that goes on throughout the fall and the winter months, but Dynasty keeps you busy, keeps you in the know-how, keeps you going with all the different talents and the different trades and everything that's going on. And definitely one of my favorite aspects of Dynasty is the year-round football. So we're wheels up in the off-season. We're in the thick of it. Let's get to it.
Yeah, man, especially, me and you, we just did a trade. So I don't know if you want to start out with that. I completely forgot. You have it pulled up? I can pull it up real quick.
If you could pull it up real quick, I would appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, so we decided to switch around a little bit. I have no draft capital, so I wanted to gain some for next year and in 28 as well. And, of course, I can't find it. There we go. So I received the 28 first, which would be yours. These are all going to be your picks, so no offense. I hope you suck for the next 2 years.
None taken.
But it'll be your 28 first, 28 third, and then the 27 second as well for Kenneth Gainwell, who I know you're high on this year, I believe, and Jalen Waddle, and my fourth for 2027, which will be probably 12th, as we know. Just kidding. So
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I
Mr. Irrelevant.
I figured you'd like that. I was waiting for the reaction. So obviously losing Waddle for me was a little like chest pounding, like chest thumping, I should say, heart thumping. But getting a first in 28 and a second in 27, which could be basically a first in most years in this draft class, I was pretty happy with. I'm sure I knew you were a little worried about it too, but you felt pretty happy getting Waddle, I'm assuming.
Yeah, this is a team last year that I was purposely tanking, and I had really no depth. I had nobody really of relevancy, just a few players, maybe about 4 max. So I was terrible when I traded all my players. I traded Gibbs and a bunch of other players with intentions of tanking. And I got a bunch of draft picks, and I flipped them around. And now that I've spent my draft picks, I am trying to seek more depth, and that's exactly what my target was. I am high on Gainwell this season. I think he's going to produce himself quite a role in Tampa Bay. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 1 in Denver now. In my opinion, I think he's gonna gel really well there. But most importantly, it got me some depth on my roster that I desperately needed. So this is why I'm setting the picks accordingly.
Yeah, no, like I said, I was excited to get the picks, and Waddle, I have him wide receiver 13 on my startup ranks that we talked about last week. So obviously that was a tough one to lose, but I have a little bit of depth there to be able to handle it, and picked up KC as well, so that helps. Enough about our trade. I thought it was a fair trade. We both had.
Yeah, I agree. I like the trade. Yeah, we both had our gut feels exactly. It got you much needed draft capital, and it got me much needed depth. I think it was a good a virtual handshake. Good trade for us to do, and I'm not going to look back.
Nope, absolutely. I'll look forward. So today, speaking of looking forward, great segue, sir. We're going to talk about a little bit of news. Like I said, it's the off season. It is a slow part of the off season. Not much news going on. And then we'll go into the toughest ranks. So when I was doing my rankings and we were kind of talking, these were the people that were the toughest players for me to rank, pretty much on a consistent basis. Even when I go and redo it every time, there's still the tough ones for me to pick. And Jeremy agreed with some of them as well, so we'll get his take on those as well. Then we're going to play some or go halftime and player profile as we do every week in the offseason. DeAndre Swift this week, which is a polarizing figure from what it sounds like in the fantasy community. So the last thing we're going to do is same face, new place. What this is fantasy-wise, the most relevant players that change teams this offseason. Obviously, we'll talk about Waddle, who we were just speaking of a few minutes ago. We'll talk a little bit more about him and some other players as well that obviously change teams, and we'll see if it's an upgrade, downgrade, stay the same, what's going to happen there. So a few things, different things we're going to talk about this week. First off, the news. So there's two players that we wanted to talk about because of money, which number one, of course, is going to be Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs. Reworked to $500 million deal. Keeping him in Kansas City until 2033. This adds 2 more years on, and it also added $239.05 million more money onto the deal as well. So I know it doesn't factor in that he gets $100 million each year. It breaks down differently than that, but that's kind of in my head what happened. I don't know about you. Like, what do you think about this?
If you have a franchise quarterback, then you got to pay the franchise quarterback, and you got to prolong the franchise quarterback. I think we're going to look back at this contract in about 5-6 years and be like, wow, they got a steal on Patrick Mahomes. Just like we looked at the contract back in the day when Patrick Mahomes' contract was first done. Oh, they got a steal on Patrick Mahomes. The way these contracts are skyrocketing, the way these contracts are being handed out, the rate is always they're the highest next player, they're the highest next player, they're the highest next player. So that rate is always going to go up. They're always going to try to one up one another. He got this in before all the major contracts are coming into play. And it's an extension rework rather than waiting out to give him a full ironclad contract once again. So they're just going to continue to stretch out this contract that they had, and rightfully so. I mean, he's not necessarily the greatest fantasy quarterback, but he is the best quarterback in our generation, so he deserves every penny.
Yeah, no, I can agree that he's one of the best in this generation, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's one of the best players on the planet right now. So he deserves whatever money he can get, and that's what he just did. Also, someone else who deserves money, apparently, at least the Panthers think so, Jalen Coker, who I thought was going to be the number 3 wide receiver, is going to get paid 3 years, $35 million extension. I don't know if he's going to be the number 3. Might be the number 2 with this money.
Yeah, that kind of money tells me that they have plans for him to be the number 2. Yeah, it definitely hurts Leggette's stock. That tells me, I know his 4th-year option is going to be coming around the bend here at the end of this season, and it just kind of makes me interested to see what they're going to do with him because they are all in on Coker. He had himself some flashes last season. I am a cokehead, as it was diagnosed last week's pod. I am a cokehead, so I'm all for this contract. I'm all for this opportunity for him. It was a little turmoilish, if you will, because he hasn't necessarily done too much to deserve a 3-year deal with this type of money. But I think he has, and I think, again, if you have the talent, pay the talent.
Yeah, I was surprised seeing this one because you bring Chris Brazzell in. You obviously have Ted McMillan. I thought those were going to be the 1-2 punch. You have a 1-2 punch in the backfield, I think. Hopefully, is what's going to be the case, and Bryce Young needs to take that step. But Jalen Coker seems like he's going to be the slot guy for this foreseeable future, which is not a bad thing for him. And with them not having, we love Jatavian Sanders, but with him not really producing like we expected him to, with no tight end, that middle of the field is really his to own, it seems like right now, for Jalen Coker. So, Cokeheads unite, as we said last week, right?
That's right, man.
He's staying in Carolina for another 3 more years. So congratulations, Coker. Now, the actual biggest news of this week, and really of yesterday, I guess, Brendan Sorsby entering the supplemental draft. So for those of you that don't understand what's going on, he was a Texas Tech quarterback. He decided to gamble way back in, over 3 years ago, I think, when he was originally at Indiana, and gambled on his own team. He was not going to play for Texas Tech. Judge in Texas decided that he was going to play for Texas Tech. Texas Tech got an enormous backlash from the college ranks, and a lot of teams said that they weren't going to play Texas Tech in many different sports, including football. Moving forward, if this continues, Brendan Sorsby ends up becoming part of the supplemental draft, which is basically a free-for-all for the NFL, 32 NFL teams. Silent auction is what I understand. I don't know if you understand it a little bit differently, but basically a silent auction of a draft pick next year. Who's going to give you the most is what it looks like. If I misunderstood that, I apologize. But that's kind of what my understanding was for it. So we have a couple questions to go off of that. But did I kind of explain that okay for you?
Yeah, you did. The supplemental draft is something that's kind of new to me. It's never really garnered so much attention that it has presently. I think it's because this is probably one of the best talents they've had in probably 20, 30 years with that's going through the supplemental draft. I think your analogy of the silent auction, it nails it on the head, because that's exactly what they're going to be doing here. They're going to be bidding their draft capital for 2027 for this opportunity to draft him along with other talents. But nevertheless, I can't see. I agree with you on the level of the second round. I can't see this going any higher than that. Because there is some serious risk involved, but this is a serious talent that's available for these teams that need a quarterback to come into play. He arguably would have been the second best quarterback in this class. If he would have came out accordingly and everything would have fallen in the appropriate paths. But nevertheless, I mean, it's a significant talent that's going to be available, and it's going to give us a new light and opportunity on the supplemental draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Same with you. I just was learning about it. I read a little bit into it more today to kind of get prepared for this conversation we're having. So hopefully it all makes sense and I didn't mislead anybody on that. So really we have 3 questions. First off, how do we handle this if we're a dynasty league? Because obviously if he plays this year, you should be able to have him on your team in some capacity. But how do you handle that? So there's a couple different ways between... I know one of our leagues that already drafted, we're talking about either drafting him in 27 or doing a special waiver wire thing, which figuring out what that fully is yet. But obviously, if you're like our golf league and you haven't drafted yet, just put him into your 26 draft. There's like 7 or 8 teams that I think he could start today on. What do you think about how to handle that situation?
I kind of like the idea that you just described, especially if you have not had your draft yet, just plug him in the draft. And look, in my opinion, I don't even think he needs to be on a team. If you have not had your draft, you can plug him in. You're betting on if you want to draft him or you want to draft him, you want to take the risk from where he's going, then so be it. How many drafts happen before the NFL draft? Like there's dynasty drafts that occur before the NFL draft, and you're drafting on sheer talent before these guys are taken by an NFL team. You know how I always say landing spots everything. Well, who knows what's going to happen in this situation? But nevertheless, I like exactly what you were saying previously about adding them in. But again, you don't necessarily need to have him on a team. Now, obviously, if he is on a team, I think that's a no-brainer add. But it's an interesting dynamic to think about. If the vote for having him go into the 2027 draft, because it's already a quarterback-heavy draft, and we're going to have a unique situation where we're going to see a guy who has some NFL time under his belt. So you're going to have that opportunity in the 2027 draft, which is one that I think would be a first time ever. And again, you're plugging him into a 2027 class that has a decent quarterback class. So the dominoes that could fall and be rearranged if you plug him into a 2027 draft are crazy to think about. Because again, you're drafting already an NFL talent who technically wouldn't be a rookie.
No, I agree with you. I think the 27 class, if he plays in 26, he cannot be drafted in the 27 class. My personal opinion. For the exact reason that you mentioned. You have a chance to see this guy. So could he be a Jaden Daniels in his rookie year? Or could he be a Bryce Young in his rookie year? I mean, you don't know. But you will know this year if you wait until the 27 class. So I think if you haven't had your draft yet, obviously put him in the 26 draft. And if you have had your draft already, like our DVP league that we talk about every once in a while, I think there has to be some kind of similar to the NFL. Not maybe draft picks, maybe everyone starts with 100 in fab, so I don't know if that makes sense to use or not, because I know for me, I'm putting 100 on it. Because if he ends up working out, like if he's the Jets quarterback and he has those weapons, like he's probably the best quarterback on that team when he steps foot. Like I couldn't see where you wouldn't want him on your team, especially in a dynasty scenario as well. The other thing is, I kind of already answered this for me. Is he worth getting? Absolutely. He was being talked about in that core 15. Before this year, he was being talked about as one of the top 5 to 6 quarterbacks in the next year, in the 27 draft class. Texas Tech was probably going to roll as the Big 12 champion and be in the playoffs because of him and some other weapons. And let's be honest, Big 12 is not that great. I mean, I'm just being honest. BYU and Texas Tech were about it last year. We got a feeling Texas Tech's probably going to come back again this year with him. Now, I don't know what's going to happen quarterback-wise with Texas Tech, but we'll see. But I do think 100% he's worth getting. He's going to be right around that Fernando Mendoza range for me, right in top 15, 16, right in that area instantly. I think he would have been, if he was in the 26 draft class, he probably would have been with Mendoza or right behind Mendoza, in between Mendoza and Simpson, more than likely. So that's where I had him at least. I don't know your thoughts.
No, yeah, like I said, I would have said he's probably the second best quarterback in this class. I would have knocked him down a peg. His athleticism is top tier. He's football smart. I mean, he's a great talent. The gambling aspect would be the only thing that would knock him down a peg. But I would definitely put him over the Carson Becks and the Drew Allers in this class, and put him right behind Francisco Mendoza.
Perfect. All right. So obviously we both agree if he is able to be drafted or able to be picked up, do whatever you can to do so, unless you have three great quarterbacks that you don't have to worry about him. Even so, he's a great you could have a great trade piece as well down the road if he does succeed. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we're here to talk about. We spent a little bit more extra time on that, but that was a situation that kind of we've never seen before with the caliber of player that Brendan Sorsby is. So we're going to start out with the toughest to ranks. So the first one, and probably the best one on this list, in my opinion, and yours I think as well, Garrett Wilson. He is a supreme talent. We already know that. He's played well with terrible quarterback play. He's getting another one this year, unfortunately, in my opinion. And that's why I have him a little bit lower than you normally would see him in ranks, because I don't trust the Jets to fix the quarterback situation, even with this incredible class. Like, there could be 7 quarterbacks that are really, really good, and the Jets are finding the one that sucks. Right? Like, that's just what seems to happen. So with that and with the extra weapons that they just brought in, he was really tough for me to figure out where to put him, especially this year, but in the future as well, because those weapons are just going to get better and better with Omar Cooper Jr. and Kenyon Sadiq as well.
No, I agree as well. Yeah, I agree that we have Omar Cooper Jr. and Sadiq being added into there. And we also, there's been a lot of reports coming out of camp about A.D. Mitchell being a heck of a showing out. So looks like there might be some mouths to feed after all in Jets camp. So we'll see exactly how that is. But again, those mouths are being fed by Geno Smith. A lot of people are being optimistic about Geno Smith going to the New York Jets, and maybe a change of scenery does help him out. But again, we saw some pretty wicked quarterback play in a bad way from Geno Smith when he was finishing his career in Vegas. So I mean, I'm trying to approach the Jets situation with some optimism, because there is some optimism coming out of the Geno camp. Indicators telling us that things are back on track with him. But again, you could have all the talent in the world like Garrett Wilson. You got to have somebody passing you the ball, and I'm not as optimistic as others are on the Geno Smith situation. But I have to be, because I have a Garrett Wilson's share at two out of five. I have Garrett Wilson, so I need to be optimistic here as best I possibly can.
No, absolutely, and I would love to be optimistic as well, because you have seen his supreme talent. He is coming off an injury, though, that kind of plagued him this past season. And we have no idea what the quarterback situation looks like in the future. But, yeah, I agree. He was just really tough for me to rank, because you know the supreme talent that he is. Like, in talent alone, he's probably top 5, right? But you can't put him in top 5 because of the horrible situation that the Jets have put him in for multiple years.
Well,
So that's kind of where we're at there. Another one, and this is actually a twofer, because Rome Odunze and Luther Burden, who's going to be the number one? And then watch, we talk about these two, and it's going to end up being Colston Loveland. Like, you just don't, right? Like, you just don't know who's going to be the number one target this coming year. We all expected it to be Rome Odunze because of his draft capital, and he performed well before he got injured, even with DJ Moore there. But a lot of steam in the fantasy community for Luther Burden, and it's hard to ignore with the people that I've been listening to. It's really hard to ignore, even though I am a Odunze fan and was a big-time proponent of him when he was coming out of the draft from Washington. But it's like, I have Rome Odunze pretty high. I have Luther Burden a little bit lower, because I believe he's going to be the 2, but those could easily flip, and they get closer. It was really hard for me to be able to pick which one and then what the difference is, if that makes sense. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, they both have their pros and they both have their cons, but I fully agree. Again, this part isn't about me, but I do have stocks of the Odunze and Burden scattered amongst my 5 leagues. So I don't know how to approach this season. I don't know how to approach selling them or keeping them or prioritizing who's going to be the wide receiver 1. Burden normally isn't a boundary wide receiver. So I mean, that's definitely something that's against him in regards to being wide receiver 1. So there's a lot of inside things, and again, that's Colston Loveland territory. And we keep hearing all these wonderful things out of Bears camp that he's going to be the next big thing in regards to tight end land. So there's only so much ball to go around. Odunze can't seem to stay healthy. Not that he has an injury history, but it seems like there's been some inconsistent attendance on his behalf in regards to the games attended, games he's playing in versus being hurt for or sidelined. So it's a tough situation. We have a true X receiver versus a yak monster. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays itself out in the season. I think just because of wide receiver rankings in regards to where they're going to be on the field, Odunze has a slight edge, but Burden is definitely creeping in on everything in regards to volume and target share.
Yeah, absolutely. And then next up, I'm going to let you start this one off, because this is one of your favorite players from what I understand. CMC, Christian McCaffrey. He is so difficult to figure out, especially this year.
And I'm going to agree with you slightly that he is, I don't want to say polarizing, but I'll take the word simply that you said, that he is so difficult to rank this, because there's a lot of hearsay and a lot of statistical aspects that reflect a season that is chock full of workload capabilities, is never followed up positively or followed up the same way again the following year. We jokingly said Mickey has jokingly said that this is the Saquon Barkley method in regards to it. He can elaborate more on that one. but I get it. I just want to make it clear that I get it. But if there's going to be one individual to be able to do this, it's Christian McCaffrey. There is an undeniable receiving floor. Can you name another running back that has such capabilities of catching the ball behind the field, that has the elite power and the elite skill set and elusiveness of Christian McCaffrey? I can't. There's one. He's some of the best hands as in the running back field. So he's a dual threat no matter how you want to play him. So if you want to stack the box, he can get you on the outside. And that is what he proved to be doing for the past few seasons, especially last year. San Francisco massively upgraded their wide receiving corps. They got Mike Evans added into there. They got Pearsall, who's going to be able to play healthy now. They also have Christian Kirk. They can no longer stack the box against the Niners, playing against Christian McCaffrey, playing against that. So again, you have situations where you can stack the box and you have Christian McCaffrey hitting you on the outfield. And now you have situations where you cannot stack the box because the wide receiver corps are finally reliable resources for the 49ers. And it's going to open up massive lanes for Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. And you didn't even talk about George Kittle possibly starting week 1, which when the injury happened was completely no one thought that could be the case. But George Kittle is an absolute freak. And he's expecting to play week 1. We'll see if that happens or not. I can't see how that would be a 6-month or 7-month turnaround or whatever.
On the Achilles.
But yeah. I mean, he is a freak. We'll see what happens. But you're right. They added these weapons, but also I think it's going to take away from McCaffrey as well, which in essence might be a good thing, but he's not going to have the numbers that he had this past year if he loses the touches. It's really hard to rank him because he is a supreme talent who is getting up there in age, but also we're worried about an injury or a lower efficiency season, which he wasn't super efficient this past year. He just had a crap ton of touches. I mean, it's at least running the ball. He wasn't super efficient. Passing, receiving, completely different monster. He was great there. And you're right. He probably is the best that we've seen that can do both, right? Run and catch. There's a couple other guys that I have in my head that are becoming that, but they're too young to say that that's going to be the case or anything. So for Christian McCaffrey, I know we had a great battle 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the running back ranks, and I had him 12, and you wanted to shoot my head off because you couldn't believe that I had him outside the top 5, let alone outside the top 10 or whatever it was, which I can respect 100%. I'm just looking towards the future, and I don't see much left, but he is in his super prime right now, and I'm worried that because of the 400 touches last year, it's going to be the Saquon effect, which basically you hit 400 touches, you're not as good the next year. It's just been a proven fact. The only person who I have seen statistically who is able to overcome that is the freak of all freaks as a running back, which is Derrick Henry. I believe he's the one out of however many there's been, have just almost as good of a season as he did the previous year. It's hard to replicate what they end up doing that with 400 touches or whatever. But that's why Christian McCaffrey is on this list, is because he's older, there's more weapons, and I'm terrified that he's going to get hurt, just like I was saying about Saquon last year. Next up, we have Rashee Rice. This one's pretty simple. How long is he going to play? Is he going to play? Is he going to be a Chief? And if Patrick Mahomes isn't throwing the ball, is he as good as you think he is? So those are the questions that I have, and that's why I'm like, I want nothing to do with him because I think he's going to be out of the league in 3 years, maybe even less than that. And how many times is he going to be on the field between his stupidity and injuries? I don't want any piece of Rashee Rice, but you can only drop him so far. So wide receiver 30, I think I'm probably one of the lowest people you'll ever see rank him because of his talent and because of who is throwing him the ball and him the number one target for Patrick Mahomes. But I just want no piece of him at all.
My leash is short on Rice. I did have him in 3 leagues. I'm down to one share. I think I want one share just to have one share. I don't want to say he's an elite talent. He's an elite tactical weapon that is, in my opinion, mostly utilized under the scheme fit of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I don't necessarily agree with you he's going to be out of the league in those amount of years, but I do think a change of scenery is going to be necessary for him. And I don't think that there's going to be as much tolerance in that change of scenery no matter where he goes. So I don't think he's a Chief after his contract is up. I don't think they extend him in any shape or way or form. I think we need to see Rasheed Rice in a completely different team, in a completely different state, division, conference, what have you, to see exactly where we are in regards to him as a behavioral aspect. But I fully support your decision on not wanting any type of stock or trade in him at all, because again, mine has decreased from 3 to 1.
And then the next one is someone who you might as well call a rookie this year, 3 years in the league, Jonathan Brooks. Obviously, you have no idea where to rank him. I was very high on him when he was coming out of college. I thought he would, when he got healthy from the injury he suffered at Texas, he would be able to come in and basically take over. Unfortunately, he has had, 9 snaps, I think you said, when we were talking about him before.
Yes.
I'm high on him. I think if he was healthy in the draft, he would have been a first-round pick. He was very good in college. I believe he could be the number one in this backfield, and I've said that before. But you don't know, so you can't rank him too high, and but you also don't want to rank him too low and then lose out on the opportunity to get him. So, very difficult person to rank because we haven't seen it.
I'm in full agreement with you on every aspect of what you just said in regards to Jonathan Brooks. From being a fan of him, he came in. I made sure I tried to grab it. I grabbed stock of him, even though he had a torn ACL at the time, and I was a big fan of him. Big fan of his opportunity that he was given. It was one of those running backs I kind of hooked onto after watching some of his stuff post college. I don't want to say I was a fan of him in college, but nevertheless, I was a big fan of him coming into the NFL. And we don't know how the backfield's going to go. I feel that I am definitely in the minority into Team Chuba, and I don't want to necessarily say that I'm out buying his jersey, beating the drum that Chuba Hubbard is the next big thing. But I think that the Panthers have made themselves financially and roster-wise committed to Chuba Hubbard in that way. He beat out Dowdle, regardless of how you want to say that played itself out. He's still under contract for at least another 2 more years, lucratively as well. They're paying him a little bit higher as the contract goes. So I think that Chuba is here to stay. I think at most, Brooks will be a 50-50 back. I don't think they're going to be comfortable giving him an elite workload out the gate, especially considering he blew his ACL on the third running play that he had in his career. But nevertheless, again, I think I'm a little bit more pro Chuba Hubbard on this, but it doesn't hurt the fact of your argument of him being hard to rank.
Right. Yeah. And we'll probably have this debate on the debate show, and I can't wait to have it. We won't go into it right now. So the next one is Bashal Tutin. I've already stated this. We've talked about him before, so I don't know if you wanted to chime in real quick or not. For Bashal Tutin, do you have anything else to add? Really, we talked about it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever. We highlighted him as our guy.
No, all we have is the camp reports of what he's like as a lead back. Let's just wait and see exactly how he's utilized.
Yeah, it just worries me that I think there's going to be a lot of people cutting into his timeshare. So that's all I'll reiterate. So, but he's extremely difficult, and I think he's on everyone's list of difficult to rank, to be honest, because we don't know what he's going to look like. And then the last one out of the main ones we wanted to talk about is Chris Godwin. A lot of people are like kind of casting him to the wayside for some reason. I figured he was going to be the number one for this team, to be honest with you, because he was almost the number one when Mike Evans was there. And as much as we like Emeka Egbuka, he ain't Mike Evans in his prime. So everyone's just putting Emeka Egbuka already ahead of him was kind of surprising to me. I did it as well because of the age difference. That's really the only reason I did it. And then I've seen some sites where Jalen McMillan is ranked higher than Chris Godwin. And I have Jalen McMillan as the number 4 on this team. A little bit different than a lot of other people. So I can't see how Godwin's just going to go by the wayside when he may be the actual best wide receiver on this team.
No, I agree with you. I have a share of Chris Godwin in my league that I'm the 3-time champ. 3-time champ. But I have him, and I can't. And I can't move him for the lowest of draft picks. Nobody wants him. I told everybody that I would blow up my team. If you recall, I was blowing up my champ team and trading all my big-time players and getting other players in return. I'm going to try to run it back with a new roster. Chris Godwin is one of 3 running backs or 3 individuals left on my team that I cannot trade. Like, I have attempted to add them in deals and everything in between. So I say this just to reiterate, the fantasy community in general is very low on Chris Godwin. I don't know if it's the pending injury that he had last year coming into the season, or if it is the talent that's around him that's going to vulture him. But no, I think if there's anybody that is going to be the front runner on a depth chart for wide receiver 1, it's Chris Godwin.
All right. I thought you were going to fight me back on that one. I was surprised. I know how much you like Big Buka, so I was surprised you didn't defend him for. But I think Godwin has the most talent on this team. But you have to rank him a little bit lower because of his age, his injury history, and things like that. But as low as he is on a lot of lists is just baffling to me. So definitely wanted to talk about him.
I think he's a week 1 starter. Is he the week 1? Is he the week 16 wide receiver 1? We'll see what Buka has to say about that. But I think from out of the gate in the season, Chris Godwin's definitely your wide receiver 1 to start the season.
Sounds good. We're going to transition to player profile. We love talking too much about single players, so we didn't get too far into the toughest to rank. We got a lot more to talk about if we have time, but if not, no big deal. Player profile here, we have DeAndre Swift. He could be put in this category as well. Measurables, 5'8", 204 pounds, 27 years old, 2020 draft class, second-round pick for number 35 to the Lions, out of Georgia. Career 6 years. So the Lions, he was there for 3 years, missed at least 2 games every single year. Very injury prone. Came out of college a little injured as well, if I remember correctly. His rushing averaged 560 yards per season, averaged 6 touchdowns per season. Touchdowns not terrible. Rushing 560, please. Receiving averaged just under 400 yards per season as well. So less than 1,000 all-purpose in the first 3 years of his career with the Lions. No shock, he leaves Detroit because they are looking for somebody else. Goes to the Eagles for a year, rushes for over 1,000 yards, 1,049 yards, 5 touchdowns, receives in receiving 214 yards and another touchdown added to that. Has a great year, transitions that 1 year into the Bears for the last 2 years. For rushing, he's averaging 1,023 yards per season, averaging 7.5 touchdowns per season, meaning he had 15 touchdowns in 2 years. Receiving, he averages 342.5 yards per season and 1 touchdown in 2025. So not too many touchdowns catching the ball, only 2 in his career, but his touchdowns have pretty much been consistent per year, around that 6-7 mark. Yes, sorry. When it's the truth, I have to say it, unfortunately. Don't like it, but I have to say it when it's the truth. So what's your outlook here? It started horrible, right, on the Lions, and that was before the Lions we know now, mind you. But the Eagles really turned the corner, and then he was the Bears number 1, and we know Monunga is coming, but we'll talk about that in a second. But what's your outlook here for Swift this year and moving forward?
Well, I think Swift is currently one of the best value buys in dynasty football, in my opinion. He rushed for over 1,000 yards, like you said, last season, and 10 touchdowns. The dynasty community kind of just seems to undervalue him. They price him around like RB3, like say 24, 26 running back. So like it's a massive gap between that ranking and his on-field production, in my opinion. I understand the Kyle Monangai thing, and I'll touch base real quick on Monangai. Monangai carved out a short yardage rule down at the end of the last season, but Swift remained the clear lead running back during that time when they were active. He out-touched Monangai. He beat him in explosive run metrics. The two-back system keeps Swift fresh, and in my opinion, it does all the benefits for the Bears that the two running back system is working on all these other teams and why these teams are transitioning to it. Well, in my opinion, it goes down to the numbers. I have some here, like let's not ignore that Swift flourished in his first year under Ben Johnson. In my opinion, he had a 54% rushing success rate, which was sixth in the NFL, and he was an efficient 4.9 yards per carry. Now that's some serious numbers. And when you have Caleb Williams rushing running out of the backfield as well, and you have the Monangai factor, which again, in my opinion, is slightly overblown. Swift is definitely a buy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. People forget. Now, it does only take one injury for things to change in a running back system, right? However, Monangai really flourished the however many weeks that Swift got injured and then the week that he didn't play. Played really well, and then they kept playing him throughout the rest of the season. But it was, like you said, clear separation of touches. Swift was getting the more lucrative touches, the more important touches, and Monangai was short yardage, things like that. So he's a good running back, but sharing time, so it kind of worries you a little bit. You wonder how much time, as we were talking about before, how much does Monangai cut in this year? He was a rookie last year, so he might get more time this year. We'll see. He's been very productive as a runner, though. Like the last 3 years, averaging over 1,000 yards a year. There's not a lot of players that can say that over the last 3 years. That can say that they average over 1,000 yards a year, and he's one of them. So to have him ranked as low as they do is just baffling to me. I think I have him ranked that low too, just because I couldn't find a spot for him. And he's a good pass catcher. He's proven that in the past, but not utilized as much because of all the weapons that the Chicago Bears have. So real quick, dynasty value, we have running back 25, tier 8, between Josh Jacobs and Kyle Monangai. Yes, between his backup. We'll move on from there. And then 111 overall, tier 19 between Michael Wilson and Eli Stowers. Ronnie Gadsden, Parker Washington, and Ty Simpson are all in that mix as well. What were your thoughts about these dynasty values, first off? And I think I know where you're going because we already talked about it.
Yeah, I'm a little floored that he's ranked right between Josh Jacobs and Kyle Monangai. I think that's a huge swing. I think Josh Jacobs and Swift are better than Kyle Monangai, but in my opinion, I think he's ranked exactly where I'd expect him, only because of the way the dynasty community views him. I would personally rank him higher. I would put him probably in my top 18, top of my head. But to have him be 26 is just mind blowing to me.
Yeah. So for me, running back wise, at least, I was surprised he was as close to Monangai as he was, or that Monangai was where he was. Maybe that might be more the case.
That might be it. That might be well worded.
That might be more the case there, because Josh Jacobs obviously Josh Jacobs has just fallen off the cliff because there's no reason for him to be number 24, regardless, talent-wise, I mean. But consistently running back 2 in fantasy, I think for the last 3 years. I have him running back 20 between Kyron Williams and Derrick Henry. That makes me feel a little bit better about myself. I think we're on the same page on that one, at least a little bit closer. And overall, my thought would be he would be a little bit higher than 111th. I was shocked that he was in the 100s. I have him 76 overall between Kyron Williams and Harold Fannin Jr. So a little bit different of an idea for me, rankings wise. Average 2026 pick value is 111 to 203. I think that's right in line. I don't know about you.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
Okay. And then future pick value 2027, early to mid second. Me personally, I think it's closer to a mid second, but I would at least think about an early second, depending on what that class looked like.
I think I agree with you fully here on this one. I think it's early to mid second in my opinion versus the late in the second round. Again, I think he's gonna be utilized just as much this year as he was last year. Another guy is going to be utilized, but I mean, there's lots of running back duos in the NFL that are successful, and Chicago is going to be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of mouths to feed there, so we'll see. But I think Swift has another good year as well. I agree with you. So now, quickly, we're going to talk about a few different players who changed teams in the offseason that are going to be relevant for your fantasy leagues. And number one on the board, of course, is Jalen Waddle. Went from Miami, which was becoming a mess, to Denver, which people will argue should have been in the Super Bowl if Bo Nix was healthy. We'll argue that later. The most important part is that he's getting a quarterback that can throw the ball. We saw what he did with Cortland Sutton, and now Jalen Waddle gets a legitimate quarterback. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. He gets a legitimate quarterback that absolutely loves the RPO. They ranked second in the NFL with 81 pass attempts on those concepts. RPOs demand wide receivers that can win quickly and create yards after the catch. Waddle is one of the best in the league to do so. I think his marriage with Bo Nix is going to be absolutely spectacular. He was capped, in my opinion, regardless of age and talent and everything. I think he was capped in Miami behind Tyreek Hill. Sean Payton traded the King's ransom for Jalen Waddle. You don't pay that and have you be wide receiver 2. I think the volume's going to be there. I think the opportunity's going to be there. And I think Jalen Waddle's going to be massively involved in a game plan on a weekly basis.
Yeah, you talking about it now makes me hate our trade, but I digress. I feel the exact same way. I love Jalen Waddle. I shot him up my rankings because of the move that him getting Bo Nix, him getting Sean Payton, him being linked with Cortland Sutton on the other side. That is a huge plus because Tyreek Hill wasn't there last year. For most of the year, he got hurt. So he was playing by himself basically with A-Chain in the backfield. That's all they had. So obviously he had a good year, but it could have been even better with someone on the other side, if that makes sense. So wheels up on Jalen Waddle. I think this is an absolute great move for him personally. Kenneth Walker moving from the Super Bowl champion, and he was the MVP. Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks, moving over to the perennial favorites every single year, it seems like, moving forward, Kansas City, with Patrick Mahomes. Thoughts on this? I want to hear your thoughts first.
I think this is going to be a fantastic opportunity. I'm drinking the Kenneth Walker Kool-Aid of him being on the Chiefs. There's some individuals saying that it's not necessarily the correct scheme fit, or he's too injury prone, or he's not going to play half the season, or whatever the situation you want to say it is. Look, regardless of fantasy, the NFL knows that one of the best to ever do it is Patrick Mahomes. You always game plan around Patrick Mahomes, the man who can throw the ball without looking, the man who has a tight end that does not seem to age, the man that seems to take these wide receivers from nothing and make them into something. You plan around Patrick Mahomes. So it's hard to go against the Chiefs trying to stack the box to stop a Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker's going to have a career year in Kansas City, and it's going to be fun to see them try to stop them.
Yeah, and I think it's no surprise of what running back they drafted, Emmett Johnson. he can be that short yardage guy that Kenneth Walker not necessarily is. But Kenneth Walker's a do all minus the short yardage, basically the Zach Charbonnet's spot. So I think he will lose a little bit of time to Emmett Johnson at some point, just because of short yardage. But man, if you can keep Kenneth Walker healthy, no one can tell me he's not a top 10 running back in this league.
Agreed.
So, and it might be our Spartan bias a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but I was a big fan of this guy coming out too. Then we had the most recent switch. I thought you'd like that.
I did like that one. Well done.
With
Agreed.
The biggest secret there ever has been in the NFL, obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles traded AJ Brown to the New England Patriots, and he is now linked back up with his first coach. And now Drake May has a legitimate number one, proven number one. He is linked with a young quarterback that people say Jalen Hurts couldn't throw the ball so great, and that kind of hurt A.J. Brown. Well, this guy, you can't say that about this guy. So what's your thought process for A.J. Brown? Same, better, worse? Where you at?
I think AJ Brown's kryptonite is not getting the ball, and I think AJ Brown's not going to face any kryptonite in New England. I think it's going to be Drake May handing him the keys to the offense, saying, "Hey, let's wheels up, let's get this done, let's win a championship." I think that they were one AJ Brown short of being a dominant force in AFC last season, enough that they would have won the Super Bowl. I think that they have a chip on their shoulder. They're coming back with a vengeance, and they're coming back with one heck of an upgrade at wide receiver.
Yeah, and they only upgraded, and they're still being talked about as like the little cousin to the Buffalo Bills. I just think that's hilarious. So I think this is a wheels up for A.J. Brown as well. Not that I think Jalen Hurts is a much better quarterback than people give him credit for. I will speak on that all day, every day. However, Drake May is another dude. He's another level of player than almost anybody in the NFL. And I've been tooting his horn for 2 years now. I'll keep tooting it for the next 10 plus. So very excited to have the number one with Drake. Very excited to have A.J. Brown with a number one quarterback, passing-wise as well. So I think if you have A.J. Brown shares, it's a very big opportunity for you right now. To either win a chip or get something big for him if you're not going to win the chip in the next couple of years. Travis Etienne, I think.
Yep.
Anyway, Travis E. Went from the Jacksonville Jaguars to the New Orleans Saints. Thoughts on this one? I know I've been a Travis Etienne fan since he was in Clemson when they won the national championship. I think they were both rookies that year, him and Lawrence. So super excited to see what he can do in a new, different offense. Played really well for Liam Cohn, so I think he'll just continue that with coach down there as well. Thoughts?
Our listeners know that I love a good college reunion, so I did follow him and Trevor Lawrence career somewhat. I was surprised that Etienne did leave. We'll call him Etienne. I was surprised Etienne did leave. I thought he would work with Trevor Lawrence for more of their careers, but here we are. This actually shot Travis Etienne up the list for me quite substantially. I think he is going to be a top 10 running back this season. I think it all becomes to the fact of how he was grabbed and the fact he's now under Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore ran the plays at the fastest pace of the last season. Very up-tempo, very no-huddle, very offensive style that natural spikes the total number of offensive snaps per game. And if you're handling that and you're handling the ball off, you're going to have a running back that's going to be a bell cow. I don't think you pay a running back 4 years, $48 million in his home state of Louisiana to come back and be a shared role like he was having toward the end of his time in Jacksonville. And throughout basically his whole career in Jacksonville, if you argue, you got the Tank Bigsby's, you had Dutton show up at the end here. I mean, there's always been somebody that's been cutting into Travis Etienne's role. Now I know Alvin Kamara's there, and I know Devin Neal's there, but again, you don't pay a running back a 4-year contract with $50 million to come sit on the sidelines. Kellen Moore runs, again, like I said, he very up-tempo offense this season. He has a historic track record of funneling massive workloads to single primary running backs. The Saints have prioritized Etienne in free agency, and I think he's going to be a 3-down anchor.
Yeah, he was like the first running back paid, I think, during the free agency. He was so fast. They obviously have something planned for him, and they've changed this offense in 1 year. It used to be Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Well, Shaheed's gone. They now have a quarterback we think is legitimate. And then they draft Tyson and they draft Lance and they have tight end who's coming in for Jawan Johnson next year, probably. I mean, they're revamping this offense with Travis Etienne. I think Etienne going to be one of the catalysts of it. So wheels up on him, too. I think it stays the same, though. I don't think there's a huge difference because I did like what Liam Cohen did last year with him. I think it just continues that kind of pace. So I didn't move him up a whole lot, but I've always been a fan of his, so I'm a little biased on that. I already had him pretty high. Next up, I talked about being a fan of somebody. This guy, I probably am one of the biggest fans of his, Kyler Murray. He has finally left Arizona where they can't win and went to Minnesota, who has a quarterback guru, has the best wide receiver in football, in my opinion. Another wide receiver on the other side who's really good. I saw him at Pitt in Jordan Addison. And then TJ Hawkinson at tight end. They have the never getting old Aaron Jones behind them, which, well, we'll see what happens there in their backfield. But all kinds of talent around this quarterback finally, right? Proven talent around this quarterback finally. So what's your outlook for Kyler Murray? Because I believe he is, if he has a situation like he does now, I believe he is a top 10 quarterback fantasy-wise because you're going to get Jefferson the ball, Addison's going to get the ball, and he can run his ass off.
No, I like the call. I can support that 7 to 10 rank on Kyler Murray. I really can. Once he became a free agent, before he was even a Viking, I went and got him in one of our leagues. Just on the realm of the idea of change of scenery and well, like we're saying here, same face, new place. So I think he's going to have a decent year this year. I think he's improved his weapons. He's improved his coaching tree. I'm looking forward to Kyler Murray.
Yeah, me and you both. I'm excited. I think he has a resurgence this year. DJ Moore, going from Chicago, where there are so many names you can't name them all, to Buffalo, who needed a number one. And that guy there, Josh Allen, who I believe is the best player on God's green earth right now in football. So upgrading quarterback, not saying Caleb Williams was not good. He has been better than I expected. But we're talking about Josh Allen. Like, there's no level to this. And he is it. And now he's going to get by far his best quarterback to throw him the ball. I don't believe there's anybody competing for the number one spot on this team. He is a little bit older than DJ Moore is, but I believe he's still in his prime right now. And it was just a bad fit with the Bears because, as I said when we talked about him a little bit earlier this year, or a few weeks ago, I guess, when he's the focal point number one wide receiver, he's always produced. When he has to share the load with people, not so much. So he is volume driven, and I think he's going to get a lot of volume. Yeah,
and I agree. He's getting the ball from the best quarterback in the league, not just one of the best athletes, in Josh Allen. So, yeah, I think it's a massive improvement for DJ Moore owners. You've upgraded the quarterback throwing the ball.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it better. Now, for the rest of these, we're just going to kind of do real quick. Up, stay the same, worse, right? And we're going to just get through these next few. So Isaiah Likely, obviously, I think is wheels up.
Wheels up as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's not in Mark Andrews' shadow anymore. It's obvious. David Montgomery, I think it's kind of stays the same.
I think it's wheels way up. I think he gives to a 3-down back. I think Woody Marks is a pass catching back only. I think David Montgomery could easily hit 1,200 yards this year.
Okay, I can understand that. I think it's going to be a little bit more Woody Marks than people are saying right now. That's why I kind of keep it the same. Mike Evans, he's the same for me. He's still one of the best wide receivers in my opinion when he's on the field. Your thoughts?
I think there's just a lot of mouths to feed in San Francisco. I think he is going to be one of the most wide receiver ones that you could be as a wide receiver one. But I think with Kittle coming back and Pearsall and CMC and everybody else in between, I think it's going to be tough for him to get superior volume, but he will not disappoint with the volume he gets.
Beautiful. Rico Dowdle going from Carolina to joining his coach in Pittsburgh. His former coach in Dallas in Pittsburgh. Excuse me.
I like your opinion on this one because it's your boys.
Okay. So he's actually the same for me because I've been a fan of his, I've been higher than most on him for 2 years now. So I haven't really changed. I think he'll be the focal point, but Jaylen Warren is going to be really annoying for those owners. And it's going to be close to 50-50.
Okay, yeah, I can agree with 50-50. I am a Jaylen Warren fan. I'm a bigger Jaylen Warren fan than I'm a Rico Dowdle fan. My soapbox has been stepped on before that one. I think Jaylen Warren is underrated, and he's definitely going to have at least 50% of the ball share. I agree with that.
Okay. Michael Pittman also going to the Steelers from the Indianapolis Colts.
Michael Pittman way up now that Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I think Michael Pittman is the absolute peak wide receiver that Aaron Rodgers needs right now in his career. And Michael Pittman is going to be a yak monster. He's going to be one heck of a player to have in PPR formats. Mark my words.
Yeah, I think he's way up. I'm surprised that people have him as low as they do with how high he was 2 years ago. Romeo Doubs coming from the Green Bay Packers, loaded wide receiving room to the New England Patriots. He's number 2.
I'm actually going to be a little bit stays the same on this one. I'm not going to be Mr. Positive as I am on all the other ones. I'm going to be stays the same on this one. I think it's going to be the AJ Brown show.
Yeah, before AJ Brown, he was going to be way up because he was it. Now, he's probably staying the same because he was the 2 to 3, depending on who was healthy on that team. For most of his career with the Packers. Kenneth Gainwell moving from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have his stock dropping. I think he's the only one that I have dropping because there are so many mouths to feed, and there's an established number 1 running back on this team.
Very, very well put. And this is probably the one that I'll stay the same as well. Gainwell is underrated in my opinion. So by him staying the same, I still predict him to have a decent season considering what he had last season. But I do not expect him to obtain that any higher or have any type of outstanding numbers for the reasons of what you stated above.
Perfect. And then last but not least, I wanted to get this guy in here because you love talking about him. Wan'Dale Robinson. Stock down for me because it can't go much higher than what it was this past year. Flat out. That's as easy as I can put.
Very well put. Very well put. I'm going to say stays the same only because they drafted Cornell Tate. I think this was Wan'Dale Robinson's wide receiver room. I think he is exactly what Cam Ward needs in regards to a wide receiver. They paid him the King's ransom, to use that term again. They paid him a King's ransom type of contract. They're going to utilize him in way, shape, or form. But I am going to say stays the same and what he did last year with Jackson Dart because, again, they drafted an absolute freak in Cornell Tate.
Well, we'll have to see where Wan'Dale falls in that wide receiver room by the end of the year because you know me, I think he's going to be the number 3, possibly number 4. We'll see what happens. But we do have a little bit more time. So we're going to hit the toughest to rank. We had a few more that we wanted to talk about. Wasn't sure if we were going to have time for them or not. We're going to hit these rapid fire just like we did the last few of same face, new places. So real quick, Dak Prescott. For me, he's super talented, has a bunch of weapons, but he's getting older.
Yeah, well said. He has the same exact weapons as he had last year. I expect him to produce, but he is getting older, and he is one of those quarterbacks that tends to have an injury pop up every once in a while. So the older he gets, the more frequent those could pop up.
Yeah, and all these younger quarterbacks are starting to run a little bit more. He is starting to slow down on the running and become more of a pocket passer. So that's why he's lower for me. Well, he's actually about where everyone else has him, but is moving down the board consistently throughout the years. Trevion Henderson, again, very simple. We have no idea what his full potential is. And I think he's overranked by a lot of people because of how people are expecting him to be, but they're not giving him the reins. So until Ramondre Stevenson is not there or not the focal point in the backfield, I feel like you have to rank him accordingly as a backup.
I think you nailed it on the head. Ramondre Stevenson is a thorn that nobody wants to admit is a thorn. He's definitely somebody that steals a lot of volume, steals a lot of red zone areas. He's still one of the backs that is utilized at least 40 or 50% of the time, if not more. Henderson is an exciting. He truly is. He's an explosive weapon, but Ramondre Stevenson's still a thing there. And until, like you said, until those reins are handed over to Henderson, I can't rank him any higher.
Yeah. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously, like, this is one of the hardest people to rank for anybody anywhere because his immense opportunity, his immense talent is there. It just doesn't show up hardly at all. And every once in a while you see it and you're like, there he is. And then it's gone. So that's why he's very difficult for me to rank. If he's bad again this year, I can't. I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, it's tough when you're a wide receiver one and your toughest competition is your tight end. Whoever Vegas is going to identify as a wide receiver one is going to face that with Brock Bowers. And then we're facing that now with Arizona. Like Trey McBride is such a talent as they have. Marvin Harrison is good. You don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We have Jacoby Brissett showing up. We have Carson Beck actually there. We've got a Minshew mania still being rumbled around. So I fully agree with this one being a tough rank.
Okay. And then we have Christian Watson. Great year. Has not played a full season yet. So I have him ranked a little bit lower than most people because, well, he's hurt all the time. When he is healthy, he has been particularly showing up, especially last year. Hopefully he can continue that. If he continues that, I'll move him up. But right now, it's hard to rank.
Yeah, he's hard to rank. He has an injury history there. And it's also Green Bay's one of those ones they have a plethora of mouths. They have Tucker Kraft, who's going to get the ball. They have Jalen Reed. They have Matthew Golden. They have, I know that they lost Wicks and Dobbs, but there's still plenty of mouths to feed in the Green Bay front line. So I'm going to be seeing how that exactly is. And again, he's got to stay healthy to see his full season potential.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention Josh Jacobs, who they're going to run to the ground because he's probably not playing much next year. This might be one of the last full years for him, or depending on what happens with a legal situation. Brian Thomas Jr., same thing as Marvin Harrison Jr., only we saw it one year, and then we didn't see it the next year. So it's hard to rank him, especially with them bringing in Jacoby Brissett, bringing in some other people as well. I know you're a big BTJ fan, so your thoughts?
No, I think last year was a little bit of a fluke, a little sophomore slump. I'm willing to give Brian Thomas Jr. a whole other year here to see exactly how he does with the way the new system and the new coaching is.
Yeah, and then the last one we have is Ricky Pearsall. This one's very simple. He's barely been on the field this year. When he's on the field, and he's the focal point. He was unbelievable. However, they have Mike Evans, who, if he stays healthy, he will be the focal point. There's no questions asked. And they have George Kittle and they have CMC. Where does Ricky Pearsall fall? And will he stay healthy? Those are the big questions.
Took the words right out of my mouth, man. The way the Pearsall situation is, Mike Evans is going to take a lot of attention, in my opinion, in a situation where there's not that much attention else to spread. Like you said, there's Kittle, there's the CMCs. You know, there's a lot of offense to spread that ball around. Interesting to see exactly how many games Pearsall plays and the kind of chemistry that he builds over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just to reiterate on that, you talked about Christian Kirk. No one else does. But if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you talk about Christian Kirk because he absolutely destroyed us in the playoffs. So he is a weapon as well whenever he's healthy. So it'll be interesting to see what actually happens in that wide receiver room. But just a couple more tough to rank, and the reasons why. Most of them are hopeful upgrades. Hopefully they show up this year and show us that they're going to be the top dog, higher ranked than what they're shown right now. But every so often you do have the ones that just fall off. So anything else you wanted to say before we head out of here, Jeremy?
No, man. I think we had a nice. I think this was a good episode here. I think DeAndre Swift got the appropriate praise that is deserved. I think we're in agreement with a lot of our toughest ranks. And I think we're also in agreement that the same face, new place, a lot of it was an upgrade for the individual. And we're excited to see the way the talent is going to establish itself in these new franchises.
I love it. Yep. Great summary. You couldn't say it better myself. We are off next week because someone's having some fun camping, and it ain't me. So we'll be back the week of June 30th with our mock draft part 1, starter mock draft part 1, startup mock draft part 1. This is going to be a 2-week dive into a mock draft that we're actually doing right now for a 12-team starter draft, Superflex. And just kind of wanted to get a draft out there to kind of see if my ranks that we've been talking about for last month kind of coincide with everybody else, and they don't, just so you know. But we'll talk about everybody's team, what was going on, how it shaped up, definitely our teams as well. So pretty exciting. I think we're in round 10 right now, so we're halfway done, which is awesome. So we will see you in 2 weeks with that starter draft. And for Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This has been Dynasty with the Mountaintops. Check us out on YouTube, Podbean, and Apple. Also, our socials at dynastymttops on Blue Sky and X. And email us at dynastymttops@gmail.com for any comments, show ideas. What did you think about the podcast? Do you think that there's some other people that are harder to rank than others? Or do you think we're crazy that these people that the people that change teams are going to have better years, most of them at least? Let us know. Again, for Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This has been Dynasty with the Mountaintops. Have a great week, and we will see you in 2.
Thanks again. Time to go camping.